Well, hey guys, and welcome to my daily COVID update for the 20th of March, 19th of March. Sorry, not tomorrow. 19th of March, 2020. So today we're going to cover two basic things that I've been sort of researching. The one is the different models and their success that various people have been trying, and the other one is looking at a second wave, and is it likely to have a second and possibly a third wave of the virus, and we'll see the validity of that. So we might as well get started into it. So let's just, what I'll do is I'll just change over to that. And so good. So that Worldometer is where I get all my stats from. I'm using that as my basis for everything because I find it's everything in one place. It's a great website in what it covers. So look, back on day one when I started 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, this is the third day, I talked about 30 days, 90 days, and the rest of the year. And so if you haven't seen this before and you're first joining me, just quickly, I think, and if you look based on China and another the other models, you're going to see that actually it's about a 30-day lockdown process, okay, whereby, that's when we're going to go. After that, the virus is sort of contained. Then we've got the lifestyle disruption side, which is the next 90 days. And finally, I think the rest of the year, and we'll see where it goes, but I think the amount of stimulus and liquidity they're putting into the system, it's likely to be a V-shape, okay, as opposed to a U-shape recession. Now, there's no doubt we're in recession. Technical, maybe not, because technically a recession is 2 quarters of negative growth. But to be fair, to shut down the whole world, you might as well call it a recession, let's face it. There's nothing much going on anywhere. We're seeing actually a bit of movement. I've got the tyre business in Australia and I've got the property businesses in the UK. And, some of those, there's various states of people. Some people are taking the opportunity. Some people don't want anything to know about it. But yeah, it's a whole variety mixed bag. And I guess you got to look at what the impact is on your individual person, job, your business, your whatever. Look, here's stats. So interestingly, 20,000 additional cases in one day. So what we're seeing is the epicenter, which is now Europe, we're in this upward file of the bell curve that we talk about. So we're heading up. So expect probably for the next 2 weeks, the cases to go up and up and up, and the deaths to follow. The deaths will lag behind a little bit, but yes, that is what's going to happen. All right. So, but you can see the stats here. They're all of the countries that are over 1,000 cases or more. Interestingly, China, a lot of the cases now in the places that have had it, like China and Singapore, Hong Kong, are imported cases. Okay, so we'll talk more about that. But yeah, 85,000 recovered, 9,000 deaths against 220,000 people. So that's a fair bit, and 20,000 in one day. So look, bottom line is, fist pumps and thumbs up, and these, that's the new handshake. And I think actually, to be fair, I'm sort of thinking about that, and I think I'm just going to keep that for good, because what I've been looking at is there's basically 2 ways to catch this, okay? And the first way is touching things, and the second way is coughing, So coughing it, the water droplets come out and they contain the virus. They land on something, or you ingest them somehow, or you touch your face, and that's how you get it. It's really hard to stop sneezing and coughing. Let's face it. It's hard to do that. Obviously, yes, we can to an extent, but also it's hard to stop touching your face. It is actually ingrained in our DNA. It's psychosomatic. It actually, when we touch our face, it naturally calms us down. And that's very hard to stop. We touch our face on average 16 times a day. So it's very hard to say don't touch your face. Even though I know that's the recommendations, the reality is I watched a video and it had a guy who was deliberately there to see how many times he touched his face. He put some dust on his hands, some germ dust to show that shows up on a blue light. And then what he did, at the end, he showed his face, and his face is full of this germ dust. And he was like, but I didn't touch my face. And he played the video back, and it was amazing how many times he touched his face while he was sitting there. And another great video I watched, which was about kids. The teacher had germ dust on her thing, and then basically she shook hands with 3 kids, the first 3 kids, let all the kids in. They cleaned the entire classroom, and basically by lunchtime, the entire classroom had germs all over it. Okay, the kids had germs on their face, everything. So it's amazing how hard it is to stop people touching stuff and to stop people doing that. And therefore, The easiest thing to do is regularly wash your hands for that 20 seconds. Another video that's out there that's going viral is watching what happens when you wash your hands for 8 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. And it's amazing the amounts you miss and the difference between 8 seconds and 20 seconds. So, wash your hands for 20 seconds. And, really, that I think is one of the key things, and not putting yourself into the situation where you're, close distance and coughing potentially. But, stop touching stuff really as well. Touching your face is going to be hard, yeah? So that is the best thing. Now, let's get into the 3 models. So the 3 models to fight the spread, okay? The first is the China model, all right? Which was basically deny and suppress. And I'm sure we all saw that. They did it for about a month. And of course, by the time they got onto it and they locked down Wuhan, the city, 60 million people, yeah, it was almost too late for the city, certainly. But then the next stage was lock down everything everywhere. Now, obviously being China, they're able to do that. They were able to put draconian measures to lock people down, and the people complied, okay? So that's the first model that I'm not proposing, by the way. But it certainly looks like it's worked. We might change our mind a little bit later. But the second model is the US and Spanish model, which is basically do nothing, barely do anything, and do everything, but it's too late, okay? And really, one of the distinctions there is tell lies about it. In other words, don't tell people the truth. Don't be transparent. And, that really, look, you've seen the video, no doubt, of Trump, his evolution from, nothing wrong, we'll recover, it's not going to hit here, we're too strong. Just total arrogance and incompetence and buffoon, But Spain was the same. Spain were having protesters and demonstrators, and the health minister was saying, if they want to protest, it's their decision, we don't have to worry about it. And it's like, you idiot, But anyway, so, that's that model. That model really, I don't think has worked. Okay, now I'll talk a little bit about the UK because the UK has adopted this model by default. But anyway, then there's the final model, which is the South Korean or the Singapore model. Okay, and to a large degree, Hong Kong, and there's a few others. But basically, it is act immediately, precautionary, take precautionary measures. Okay, take it seriously, get in there, and start doing it as soon as you identify it. All right. The second thing is test everything. All right, and then contact tracing everything. Yeah. Then finally, tell the truth. Be transparent with all the data and everything. I live in Singapore, and one of the wonderful things is I can look at every single case, and I can look at their history, and I can do that. In South Korea, they even went further. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But let's talk about the UK first. The UK model. Wow. Look, similar to the US. Okay, but I don't believe they were lying about it. What they did was they ignored it for a while, okay, thinking that almost it's not going to come here, it's in China, and we'll wait and see, which was that was a mistake. But then the other side was, I think they tell the truth, but they decided on an interesting, and I've put interesting, social experiment called herd immunity. And add to that with accepting some people will die, which is a fairly big risk. Now, and finally what they've done is lock down everything everywhere, but it's probably too late. So we're going to see that massive growth, and we're going to see the health system overwhelmed and that sort of thing. So, they're taking it seriously now. And I think what they've done is that social experiment, they've kind of gone, actually, politically and socially, it's disastrous. Because, as the Hippocratic Oath says, do no harm, And really, they're almost going, well, we're going to accept that there's going to be some harm, which just doesn't gel very well with voters, okay? Now, sure, he's got 5 years to recover, but the reality is it wouldn't have been sitting easy, I imagine, and, some of the doctors and certainly the rest of the world were looking, going, you bloody idiots, sort yourself out, And certainly looking at what China have done, South Korea have done, and are continuing to do, and seeing those models, it was food for thought. But anyway, so that's the UK model. Look, South Korea, let's talk about South Korea, because really South Korea is probably, a really good model for success, okay? And to a large degree, Singapore. Precautionary, they basically separated everyone at arrival. So, if you landed from China very early on, you were separated, you were extensively tested, temperatures, they banned flights eventually, they disinfected regularly, they really got on top of it very quickly, okay? They contact traced. In actual fact, they found patient 0 who brought it to there. It just happened to be a member of a church who went to a 1,000 gathering and a 1,000 gathering, And so that was the epicenter that started. And so they've effectively, without locking down the city and without doing a list, they contact traced every person that person was in. Now, it just happened to be a church, and they refused to give their membership, okay, for like 4 days, which meant that it expanded and it extended out. And now those guys are under, potential homicide with willful neglect. And there's a petition to shut down the church in its entirety. We'll see what happens there. But bottom line is, what they did is they worked out who it was, and then they traced everyone. Now, what they also did, was once they found people with it, they basically isolated them and treated them. They isolated and treated them. So that mass testing, and they were the ones that come up with drive-through testing. So the Americans might think that was them. It was actually the South Koreans. Of course, the American and Trump aren't going to say that. They'll probably take the praise. But look, mass testing. They've done more tests than any other countries, put around. But also what they did is when they had that contact tracing, they then had a map and they used apps, and they basically gave access to that data to everyone to be able to take that data and see, wow, that person was there and that's a hotspot, and I was there 3 days ago when this person was passing through there. They use mobile phone data, CCTV, TV data, all this sort of stuff, which is quite an interesting thing, But more importantly, they communicated, they told the truth, they gave clear direction, and early on. And the amazing thing is, I watch, Singapore and our ministers and how they present this. It's clear, it's concise. There's no this or that. There's no politicizing. It is, impressive to watch. I've got a blur, but So it's really impressive to watch. And the amazing thing is, you look at then Trump as the other end of the spectrum, and it is just ridiculous. Straight as soon as he opens his mouth, there's someone there to correct him, or they have to correct him. It's ridiculous. But they told the truth, and I think the truth is something that, as much as it may, be hard to put up, straight away, actually, it allows people time to get prepared. It allows people to, get used to it and adjust to it. We're adults, and if you treat us like adults, we respond like adults. And we look at Korea, the results so far. Daegu, which was the city that was in, 75% of the cases have been contained in that city. So they haven't had to lock down. They haven't had to do quarantines. The city and the economy has kept it moving, which is an amazing thing, that they've been able to do. So, will we face a second wave? Now, guys, if you've got any questions, pump them into the thing. But look, will we face a second wave? Bottom line is, China, Singapore are reporting, a second wave of cases. But a lot of that sort of stuff is actually imported cases. So yesterday in Singapore, 47 cases, 33 of them were imported. Okay. And now look, all entries, as soon as you come in the place, you got a 14-day stay-at-home notice, and they check you. You're not allowed to leave the house. Okay. You have to get other people to bring food into you. You are literally quarantined, isolated in your house. Because they want to stop the spread of it. And they will. And, so far, Singapore and South Korea and those places have been very successful in doing that. Rather than having this massive uplift and down, they've been able to actually control it like this, keep the health services under control, and actually it's been quite good. But let's talk about second wave. So epicenter has shifted from, China and Korea into Europe and now the US. So we're seeing, massive numbers, and I think we'll continue that for 2 weeks, at least. In China, only 1% of the entire population has actually been affected. So there's still 99%. So the reality is it could come back. There's no guarantees it won't. And in fact, it's likely to be with us for some time. Okay. Now, nobody can know that 100%, but, without a vaccine, it's likely to stay with us. The other side of it is, if you look back through history, in 1889, you had the Russian influenza that went through, killed 1 million people. You then had in 1918 the Spanish influenza that killed 50 to 100 million people. And all of those had 3 waves. The first wave, was terrible, but the second and third waves were even worse. Okay? Hopefully, we've learnt our lesson. Hopefully, politicians realise the severity of it, both to the economy and to the human cost. And, they can come, and deal with it, and we won't have that happen again, So I think that's really important, guys. So that's it for me today. That's sort of the things that I wanted to cover. But look, guys, we're back tomorrow and we'll have some more from you. But any questions you've got, pump them into there. If you want to, webinars at gladfish.com, and I'm happy to answer either with videos or I'll answer them the next day. And yeah, guys, look, remember to subscribe and remember to comment. And I look forward to catching up. And stay safe for this next few weeks while we're few weeks or month while we're in isolation. It looks like the UK is now going to be shutting down. I hear the army's potentially moving into London. They're shutting down schools on Friday. So, we're going into lockdown mode and potentially into draconian lockdown where basically the army will be, enforcing that lockdown. But that's the sign of the times. And it looks like, that what started out to be the US-Spanish model, we could be turning into the China model, to get out of this. But it will pass, and I think everyone agrees that. And it's likely to pass quicker than most people think, I think. But stay safe, enjoy the time with your family, and look forward to chatting you real soon, and we'll see you again tomorrow. All right, see you guys, bye.